Thank you for attending this session. My name is Joe Skirman, and I'm going to be presenting the Avanade CEBP framework. Yes, yet another acronym you have to remember and walk away with. Hopefully there's two gentlemen in the room that I'm staring at right now that can help me with a better way of explaining that. And that in of itself is kind of the crux of our issue as developers, trying to explain this extensibility that you can provide on top of the Lync platform. And the reason why is Lync in and of itself is part of a unified communication system. It requires someone intelligent enough to understand how to sell a unified communication solution, right? So CEBP is an extra layer on top of that, right? So trying to sell CEBP to a customer can be quite tricky, especially when you have to explain UC first and then CEBP. But hopefully I kind of drill into that a little bit more here, make it a little bit more self-explanatory through the solutions that we're actually developing with our customers today, and that becomes more self-explanatory. Even though you may not see the Lync logo, you'll see all the modalities that are actually embedded into the applications, and that's exactly what I'm really driving towards, and I'll show you that here in the presentation. For those of you that don't know me, I've been around for 12 years. Actually, I started with Live Communication Server 2003 at Microsoft Research. In fact, I found an old relic in my closet when I was packing my suits. This was my first speaking shirt. Just kidding. I've gained a little weight since then. No, but we've come a long way since the LCS 2003 days, and I remember speaking and evangelizing a lot of this capability globally. Microsoft sent me out to every region of the world to explain this new and exciting product called Live Communication Server, and that was the premise for what was to come. At Microsoft Research, post-deployment of the core features of the product, I worked on our platform engineering efforts. So really looking at the APIs and capabilities to extend and expand Lync for line of business systems and applications. I actually ran a startup company after I left Microsoft Research, and we were featured on CNN and Discovery Channel. We were on a show called the Today in America show with host Terry Bradshaw, of all people, who knew nothing about technology. But we were showcasing this new and wide capability. Also wrote a few books about this technology as well. So any questions you have related to kind of the development paradigm around this type of technology and how we can extend Microsoft Lync, feel free to ask me any of those questions. But now I'm with Avanade, and we are part of the Avanade Universal Communications team. I had to make a quick change last night based on Gurdeep's speech. For those of you that aren't familiar with Avanade, Avanade is a joint venture between Microsoft and Accenture. We are in our teenage years right now. We're actually 17 to 19,000 strong globally. Most people don't know who we are. We're usually behind the scenes developing products with Microsoft or working with Accenture and deploying our products internationally and working with our customers from a consulting services perspective. My organization is focused on the unified communications deployment, management, health, run components, as well as this CEBP capability that I'm going to show you today. We are working with very large customers across multiple industries. I'm going to show you some examples of industry-based solutions in healthcare today. We're working with many customers in the United States as well as internationally from providing care across patients in mobile, web, and clinic-based experiences. One thing before I get started as far as our UC practice and vision is concerned, Avanade wants to provide the full package for the customer and partner with organizations to help complement our services to really deliver a great experience for Microsoft Lync customers. And so in this space, we have a managed UC offering that includes Lync, SharePoint, Exchange, Active Directory, and mobile. We have 1 million seats on Lync right now that we're managing today. And my practice is really focused on, once the customer has deployed Lync, really extending Lync into their line of business solutions, which is the crux of my presentation today. Any questions you have on our UC managed services? We have some gentlemen in the room here. Stephen Tong, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, feel free to ask him about partnerships or our solutions that we provide there. All right, so CEBP. There's so many ways to explain this, and this is probably the worst graphic to show, but I had to put it in there because I've used this for about 10 years to try to explain what CEBP is. If you look at a painter, that has a palette of colors, right? They have blue, green, red, white, all these different colors to create a painting, right? Well, developers are not too different from a painter, right? They're very eccentric people. Me personally, I work in a cave in my home office. I've got all these machines and server racks, and sometimes my beard grows really long. I've shaved for you guys. This is shaved. But we are artistic, and we're working with customers to develop these really beautiful and unique applications that really fit inside their workflow and extend and beautify what they do as an organization, their uniqueness, right? So this uniqueness of each organization in their industry, we can bring out now, leveraging these types of communication and collaboration capabilities. So instant messaging, audio, voice, video, conferencing. These are the items on my palette, and I'm painting a picture of an application that really sits well with the organizations that we interface with. And it's really across devices, across platforms, across browsers, and really what I try to focus on when I'm explaining CEBP is it's all about the experience. Who's interacting with the application? Is it a doctor at a medical center? Is it an online educator? Is it a professor or teacher in a classroom? Right? Is it just a normal individual working from home? That could be anybody, right? So we want to enable these types of communication modalities and experiences to individuals that are interfacing with these applications. Gurdeep spoke about some work that he was doing at Microsoft Research when he was away from the Lync team for a couple of years. We're doing a lot of very similar research around human dynamics, how humans interface with applications and devices, using the Connect device that I have here for my healthcare solution, looking at facial recognition and body posture and the type of dynamic that the individual has when they're interfacing with a video device is important to the end user that is looking at that individual and trying to change information and contextual data as their emotions change in front of that actual application. So we're looking at human-to-machine interaction and actually trying to improve and create predictive analysis for some of the interactions between individuals in these applications. And CEBP is really the crux or the gel, if you will, to bring everything in together across devices, across browsers, across applications. And Microsoft Lync now has the extensibility to really provide that footprint across these various platforms. So what we've done at Avanade is we've created a CEBP framework. And what that means is we've developed a series of solutions that are built on the Microsoft platform, working with our customers, and then we build a series of templates that are either industry-based or cross-horizontal that could be used really for any company across any industry. And then we've developed a series of solution accelerators to help demonstrate that capability. I'm going to be showcasing one here live for you today. It's our unofficial launch, if you will, of our Avanade Health Collaborative Care Solution Accelerator. But all of these accelerators, whether you're working in financial services, healthcare, contact center, across the gamut, we're developing these experiences, again, our keyword experiences, for these end users to leverage the modalities that are provided within Lync through their line of business applications. So I'm actually going to switch over out of the PowerPoint and actually show you one of these accelerators live today. I'm happy to talk to you after the conference or after the session. Any questions you have on our other accelerators like Contact Center and Live Chat. But I'm going to be showing you an actual experience for a patient that could be at the clinic, a patient that could be at home, a patient that could be on their mobile device communicating, leveraging Lync and Skype technology directly to a medical center or to a specialist and physician a world away. So let me switch over here to my pod. All right. So what you're seeing here on your right side of the desk here is what we call our Avanade Health Collaborative Care Kiosk. We're working with medical centers today, clinics today, one in particular based out of Franklin, Tennessee, that's listed on our quote on our brochure in the back, that's deploying 112 clinics across the United States. And his main goal is to provide pervasive video and pervasive audio and diagnostic care to patients no matter where they're located. And his vision is to create these care stores. They're not the traditional clinic, like going to the Minute Clinic and getting diagnosed and sitting with other contagiously sick people, right? This is for individuals for healthy living to really stay on top of their health plan and just get a really good checkup or take some preemptive care, right? So for this clinic, he's using our AHCC solution for the in-clinic patient capability and creating enclosures inside of those care stores. We'll have 4 per care store. And the actual pod itself is a Windows 8 all-in-one computer. I'm showing the Sony L series. It's a mounted device here. Connected to that is the Connect for Windows device at the very top. We're working with the Connect team on several different exercise programs, as well as pupil dilation, facial recognition, to look at bipolar, as well as at-risk stroke patients as well. And then you'll see a series of medical devices. Now, these medical devices could vary per clinic. So it could be, in this case, these are Microsoft Health Vault approved devices. This is an Ion Health instant thermometer, and I have a blood pressure monitor as well that works on the wrist. For our other customers, it could be really any USB-based device or any Bluetooth wireless device. It doesn't matter. So here what we've done is we've enabled a Lync interface. This is actually Microsoft Lync. I know it doesn't look like Lync and you don't see the logo here, but everything here is Lync. We're enabling the individual patient to come into the clinic to participate in a scheduled session with their physician. The physician is not at the clinic. The physician could be at a medical center in their own physician office. He could be at home, right? So it really could be anywhere. And what they're going to be interfacing with here is this all-in-one kind of dashboard for the patient to interact with the physician, leveraging Lync audio, video, presence, instant messaging, and data sharing. But instead of normal data sharing, like you would share your PowerPoint presentation on a Lync conference, we're sharing medical diagnostic data. And a lot of people ask me, how'd you get this approved by the FCC or FDA? Well, we're not actually sending the data through the Lync conference for storage, right? So the data is coming from the EMR. All this information is being pushed to the EMR directly. What's being managed in the communication service is the Lync conference itself. So that's how we're able to provide this service for healthcare customers without being a medical systems provider. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the demo here. I'm going to play the role of, actually, I'm going to ask someone else to play the role of Maria Gomez. I want to get you guys involved here. I'm going to pick on you, Kevin. You have to come up here. Come on, man. Kevin's going to play Maria, not because he has long hair or is Hispanic. So Maria's basically here at the pod, right? So basically she's ready to take basically communicate with her physician. Now she could be working with a navigator at the care store that can help her do this, but I think Kevin can handle it on his own. So Kevin, you can see that you've got a weekly appointment here. Yep. Actually, one second, I'm going to switch over to this interface so everybody can see. Is that one? Yeah, okay, great. So Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and click on your weekly appointment. Okay, so now you're in the virtual lobby. So it's a little different from you sitting in the doctor's office with other sick people, right? Okay, just make sure you understand it. All right. Yeah, exactly. So give me one second. I was actually away, so there's some presence involved here as well.
It's just like waiting in a doctor's office.
Exactly.
You sit there and you're waiting.
Give me one sec. Yeah, so this is actually driven by Lync presence. So if the physician's not available, you're not going to be able to join the session, just like you joining a meeting. Okay, so I'm signed in now, and I'm ready. Okay. So this is what happens when you talk too much. Oh, one sec. No, it's just working next door. Yeah, give me one second. Let me just sign back in here. All right, get you signed in here. Network's really fast, by the way.
You borrow mine.
All right, come on. Sure, I'm actually connected to the internet here. Yep, okay. Yeah, it's not normal. Okay, all right, so you're now interfacing with the pod. one thing to keep in mind here is I already signed in to begin with. You can use the Connect device to actually wave your insurance card in front of the Connect device, and it'll go ahead and log you in, leveraging your insurance card. So you have to agree to two very important waivers, an FCC waiver and a HIPAA compliance waiver, and then you can move forward with the conversation. Now, go ahead and join the appointment. Okay, so we're in the virtual lobby. And so the physician here is now waiting for that patient to join the lobby. And I'm going to switch over to the physician view so you can see what I'm seeing there. Yep. So basically, we've enabled another Lync application here that leverages the Lync SDK. It's targeted towards the Windows Surface Pro. And so we can enable physicians now with a gesture-based tablet that actually works for patient diagnostic and care. So this is basically a Lync client. You can see on the left-hand side, I've got all the Lync capability built in out of the box, and I can see all of the individual patients or contacts or other physicians that are in the system. And for some reason, I'm not seeing you come in here. It's really odd because I just did this demo next door. Something's wrong with the network. Wait 1 second. Apologies for the delay, guys. Okay. All right, let's try this again. I don't know, the network's actually really funny. They're not even showing up in the lobby. It's great. Okay, while that's loading up, we're having kind of a network issue here. I actually just did this with the same network next door, no problem at all. What I'm going to show you here is that the physician, you can go ahead and sit down, Kevin, sorry about that. The physician communicating with other patients in the system as well. So just making sure that you guys understand that the physician can actually use this system and leverage Lync as a client to communicate with really anyone. So I'm going to go ahead and find my name here, and this is actually our Avanade Lync deployment. And I'll start a session with me on my mobile phone. So I'm logged into Lync here on my mobile device. And I'll go ahead and just send an instant message over to my account. There we go. All right, so I just sent a hello message to my mobile account here. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the IM. So in this situation, I could be a mobile patient, trying to communicate with my physician as well, and then I'll respond back using the mobile client. So I'll say hello back. Send that across. As you can see, it picked up on the physician's app. Now what I'll do is actually add video here. And you'll see I'll receive a call from the physician on my mobile device, and he'll start actually adding video here. I'll join the video sharing session from my mobile. And start my video. So now basically the physician can see the mobile patient, from a mobile Lync client running on the phone. This could also be Skype for the patient on the phone as well. But in either situation, whether you're at the clinic or you're on your mobile device or in a second here, as I'm going to show you via the web, the patient can interact with the physician at any time. So let me go ahead and close this out. All right. Okay, and then we'll switch over to the web view. So let's say I'm a patient from home, right? And I've got a certain condition here that may not warrant actually going to the hospital, and I just want to talk to someone to really kind of vet out what I should do next, right? So what we've done is we've enabled a service called Avanade Live Chat. It's one of our other solution accelerators that I was presenting on the screen here. Get out of PowerPoint here. You can see it. So what we've done is we've enabled this ability to click the chat and actually have audio and video conversations via a web browser with absolutely no software to install for the individual user. So this can actually be used in multiple cases. It could be used for retail, commercial use. You can use, click the chat pretty much anywhere you have a contact page on a website. So I can see here that on this site specifically, I'm still Maria, but in this case, I'm at home. I want to check my medical reports and also communicate with the physician from my MyChart site, which is an EMR provider's website. And so here I can see all of my reports that are all the information that's important to me as a patient by logging into the system here. But I can also see that a representative is online. Now, I might have a problem, similar to the demo that the gentleman from Microsoft showed this week with my hand, right? And I might want to, talk to a doctor and see, is it worth coming into the medical center or going to a clinic for further care? It could just be that I'm not feeling well and I just need to see someone. Well, regardless of the case, I can just click the chat here. And so what happens at this point is I'm using single sign-on to create a Lync instance for that individual user on the web browser. And now I can send a message from the web browser to the physician waiting on the other side. Now, from this perspective, I actually have some physicians, which are actually my team members out of Buenos Aires, Argentina. So they're going to come in here and they're going to respond and communicate with me via their Lync client as basically a specialist that could be in Buenos Aires communicating back to me as a individual via this web browser. So what's happening right now is they're receiving an invitation in their Lync client and they're going to respond back using Lync to communicate back to me as the web visitor. So I'm just waiting for them in the queue here. And I can continue to look at my reports or see anything that I want to see on my MyChart page while I'm actually communicating with them in the IM session. So I just got a response back from one of the representatives. And what I'm going to do now is say, hey, I'm not feeling well. I want to see a specialist if possible. So I'll send that across. And basically, if the physician is available, we can route to a physician based on skills-based routing or based on their availability as well, and actually escalate this from instant messaging to an audio-video conversation. So basically, I'm being prompted for a video conversation here. And now I've escalated the chat conversation to an audio-video call. And so now I can communicate with a physician, a world away. Here we have Juan Tadon from my team in Buenos Aires. So this is over the Wi-Fi connection, again, connecting to the team there in BA. So Juan, thanks for joining the call here. Just have a little bit of feeling not feeling too good today. My back's killing me from lugging all this hardware around. It'd be great if you could take a look at my bag. No, I'm not going to take my shirt off and take a look at the back. But basically here, we can have a very easy conversation. And right now I'm using what's called ORTC, which is a specification that Microsoft's been working on with the W3C. We're actually in the middle of migrating that over to what's called J-Lync or the UC JavaScript API, which will provide a lot more flexibility for us to extend this across devices and browsers. So anyway, hopefully what you've seen here is the ability to quickly communicate with a physician through this service. Now what I'll do is I'll switch back over to the actual pod here again and get the service fired up. And we'll try the clinician view again. And if not, I can show you some of the devices. So I'm going to sign in as the physician. Still looking at that. Okay, so 8. Back on the pod. All right, try this one more time. So basically, again, I'm the patient looking in the lobby, looking at my patient data, seeing all the devices that are attached to my kiosk here that I can interface with. And here I can join the appointment. Hopefully I've picked it up here in Lync. Yep. Okay. While that's coming in, I'm going to show you some of the devices that you can interface with in the appointment itself. So like I said before, we have a Connect device that's actually activated on the pod itself. And so through the Lync conference, the physician can actually see the patient go through one of these mobility exercises. So if I stand, at a close distance here, the physician, on their Lync application is basically looking at me going through this exam and I'm following a specific exercise, which is this chest stretch test, to actually send this across through the actual Lync conference. When I'm finished with that, I can actually activate another test as well, in this case a blood pressure monitor test. Trust me, you don't want to see my blood pressure right now. So basically, this is a wrist-based blood pressure device. You put it on your wrist. What we do is when we work with our customers, this specific customer wants to use this device. It provides pretty accurate blood pressure test. My last one was, you'll see it here in a second, it was pretty horrific. But we've written a wrapper on top of these devices. We work with the Microsoft Health Vault team to work with these devices, and we've written this wrapper across a USB interface. So no matter what the device is, we can plug it into the conference, and that is the data sharing that's coming from the patient speaking to the physician over their client. And so in this case, I've loaded the instructions here on how to use the blood pressure test. And so I can actually take the test itself, connect it to the pod, import the results. And so my systolic was pretty high, that last one. I'll go ahead and send that over. And then all these results are then presented back to the individual physician. So if I switch back over to the physician here, I can look at some results in the physician app just by searching on the patient's name. So in this case, it was Maria Gomez. Found out the problem. Her presence is set to do not disturb because I'm presenting out. Okay, so what I'll do here, I'll just show you the physician view. So I'm not going to share this monitor anymore. I'm going to try that again. Actually join the session here. Yeah, so theoretically, you're not going to have this device presenting on a PowerPoint presentation in a clinic. So this user, when you're using Lync or Skype and you're presenting, it actually changes your presentation status to presenting or do not disturb. So when I was trying to join the conference, I couldn't communicate with the individual because the Lync presence of that user was do not disturb. So hopefully now when I sign in here, the patient will actually be available and I'll be able to communicate with that individual. And you should see the presence of Maria sign in here is available instantaneously on the screen, as you just saw right here. Okay, so now I'm going to log in. And now I'm going to join the conference. And I should pick up here. And so from here, I can see all of the relative scans from Maria Gomez. So I've got the Lync contact card information or Skype contact card information for that user, or it could be just web-based communication service. And I can look at all the scans that have been performed on Maria here at the kiosk. So if I look at certain scans that have happened in the past, I can see weight tests, blood pressure tests, connect tests, like I just showed you on the pod there. And I can see the results of those tests and compare them to previous tests. What we've also enabled here is the ability to share this data with other physicians. So this physician can actually search for another physician in the network and then share this result to another physician and communicate and collaborate through Lync, from link to link to the other physician. All right. Any questions on what I've shown so far? Everybody's quiet today? Yeah, so we enable a Skype interface, a web-based interface, leveraging, for developers in the room, it's an account that's been set up for the individual user through Lync, and it's instantiated in the instance of the use case in the kiosk. So you're not actually licensing Maria Gomez for Lync. You're licensing Medical Center 1 at company.com, and that's instantiated as many times as you need necessary to communicate with physicians that are in the network. Now, the physicians would be using Lync, so they would need a Lync license. Yeah, so what's happening with the sensor data is it's actually going directly into the EMR. We can't push this to the Lync conference because let's say we wanted to manage Lync for the customer, we would be managing patient identifiable data. So any of the connect test, blood pressure test, et cetera. So how we've architected this, and I'm happy to share that architecture with you, is Lync is a wraparound to the EMR. We've been working with EMR system providers across the United States, even some that have been labeled Fort Knox as an EMR provider as well. And we've inserted information into the patient record upon completion of the conference. So once this conference is over between the patient and the physician, we update the record for the patient to let them know when the conference occurred, what diagnostics were taken, and what were the results of those diagnostics. We can also record the conference, the Lync conference, and actually show the video in that conference as well. Now, the technology that I've shown you here, this is actually using the Lync client SDK. So this is a managed device that we know, what the footprint of the user is going to be because we're controlling that environment. So Lync is actually running in what's called UI suppression mode, and we've rebuilt the client on the UI. It's communicating to the physician that's also running a Lync-based customized client application on their Surface Pro machine. But on the web-based service that I demoed here, there's absolutely no software to install. So this could be any browser, it could be any operating system. We're working with customers today, creating some really unique communication experiences on cable set-top boxes that are running Linux operating systems to offer kind of the Xbox Skype communication on their cable boxes. So some really, really interesting experiences there. Now, again, we highlighted the healthcare solution here today. We have a series of other solution accelerators that we've developed, and what I wanted to talk about was how those are built and how we extend those out to customers. The first thing that I want to make sure that you guys understand was that this is a solution not just built for the sake of a solution. For those of you that know me well, I was pretty active in the Lync community for the past 12 years. For about 18 months or 2 years, I went very silent. Actually ended up in the hospital for 18 straight months. I was undergoing a situation that was undiagnosed. I was working across all medical centers pretty much in the Houston area. They put me into Memorial Healthcare System in Houston, and basically that's what started my journey. And so after 32 procedures, 6 surgeries, and going through kind of a life-changing event, I wrote this software in the hospital. And my child was being born at the same time. So this is something that is very near and dear to me, and it's passionate for me to explain to you. And it's something that we are committed to as a platform provider. And what I noticed during that experience is that there's a series of statistics that we were analyzing that really drive the need for this remote communication service and what we can provide through Lync to provide it. And right now, today in America, 80% of individuals across the United States do not have access to a primary care physician. So enabling these types of resources from a browser, from a clinic, et cetera, provides that remote care capability in a pervasive way. Yep.
Don't have access, Joe, because of distance or?
Don't have insurance.
Insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting changed, yeah. It's helping out quite a bit. And this type of device combination is actually much more affordable to deploy than some of the carts that you see in hospitals today. This raw build for the demo here was about $3,000. At a normal medical center, you're looking at $60,000 to anywhere to $100,000 for typical remote care. And there are providers out there providing similar services, but leveraging Lync, we can cut that cost down significantly and deploy a service that has a much broader reach. So in terms of what we're doing in CEBP at Avanade, what we're trying to do is build a series of partnerships, a series of relationships, and a framework and a foundation that we can extend to customers across different types of experiences like I showed you here today. So we start with the Microsoft foundational capabilities of leveraging Lync, Skype, and the available APIs from the framework. We work with partners in certain industries to help deliver specific solutions in that industry, or service providers that can help work with our customers as well. And then we work with our customers to brand and customize the workflow of the application and how we deploy it to the end user. And so that's how we typically go to market today. And so from a perspective of how we can work with partners, those of you that are providing similar services today, leveraging this framework, leveraging our solution accelerators, we have a solution for ISVs to help co-engineer solutions together so we can really drive the market together. We also have a solution for SIs that can partner with us to deploy these capabilities. So let's say you're a Lync deployment partner. We can still work with you to deploy Lync and deploy these services in addition to that service. And then for resellers and channel partners, we're offering a tiered service to help white label or also push our applications out to the marketplace, depending on the type of application. So again, from a partnering perspective, from a deployment perspective or co-engineering perspective, or even reselling these solutions as well, we have an opportunity to work together. Like I mentioned before, Stephen Tong is in the room here. He can work with you on signing our partner agreement in this area and work with you on our strategy and how we go to market together. For more information, our Lync applications are hosted actually and showcased on the Microsoft Lync Partner Catalog. And we have a series of demos that are available on our website via avanade.com/CEBP. So that's all I have today as far as the presentation is concerned. I'm going to be showing many more demos, including contact center and having open conversations at our booth downstairs, which is in the 700 aisle. But feel free to ask me any questions that you have now. And thank you guys for attending the session today. Great. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, Joe, so it's great that you're here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
This is a fabulous piece of work you're doing. And I'm curious about the slide you showed just at the end about resellers. Tell me how that's working. I mean, my intuition is, and by the way, I'm Marty Parker, I'm with Unicom Consulting, and we think CEBP is the real way of the future for unified communications or universal communications. So I'm curious about the reseller program. We're not one, but I could certainly recommend this program to many if it's a fairly accessible tool.
Yeah, so it is fairly accessible. It is very new, though. So I'll have to actually defer you to Stephen to talk a little bit more about our strategy and how we work with our partners. So definitely follow up with Stephen there. Great question. Any other questions on kind of the technology or what you can do with Lync? I will say I presented this next door right before this session, and there are so many other partners out there that are developing some really cool and unique applications, and I think it's a real testament to what we can do with this platform. And really, post-deployment, this is where it all makes sense, right? So taking it into the line of business and driving industry-based solutions is really where this capability is going to soar. Yes, sir?
Joe, it's Marty again. So you mentioned verticals.
You just take the mic to your chair.
What other verticals, what are the other hot verticals that Avanade sees? Healthcare is a wonderful one.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, so actually we're working in contact center, which is very broad, and almost every partner has their own contact center solution. So what separates ours from others, right? Well, we actually can work with other contact center partners to provide a service that's complementary to what we offer as a solution accelerator. What that means in plain English is we have a starter template that is based on dynamic CRM or whatever CRM system the customer is using today. And that solution actually integrates directly with Lync, which would traditionally be called a contact center CTI integration. This service actually provides a single pane of glass for the agent that has all of the Lync modalities built into the agent dashboard. And you can communicate directly on incoming calls, outgoing calls. We integrate with SAP for CRM as well as credit and collections. We just actually sold this to Microsoft. We're deploying this contact center solution globally across all of Microsoft's call centers, and it's integrating directly with Dynamics CRM and SAP CRM for several thousand agents globally. Other areas that we're working on are in financial services and insurance. We are deploying a solution today for a customer in Japan that is one of the largest life insurance providers in the world. And what they want to do, very similar to a lot of our financial services customers, is have a more intimate relationship with their high wealth customers and be able to offer a audio-video conversation from any location and share their portfolio remotely, right? So what we've done there is we've enabled an application very similar to the healthcare customized Lync client solution that can actually be extended to the browser now without any software to install for the representative or the high wealth customer. And that customer could be, on a plane or in a Starbucks, et cetera, looking and seeing at their representative and going through their insurance plan and all of their portfolio. So, financial services, healthcare, insurance services, online education is another area where we're providing services as well. We have a solution that we codenamed AvaClass that sets up a very quick conference and automates a lot of things that teachers need to usually manually provide in a conference. So what I mean by that is when I'm setting up an educational conference, I have to load the documents, I have to load the PowerPoint presentation, I have to invite all the participants to the meeting. we created literally a button, so kind of like the easy button for SharePoint or a website that actually the professor just clicks on the actual button. It loads all the documents from SharePoint or that website. It sends out all the invitations. Individuals can join via the web, mobile, or Lync client, or Skype client, and take the classroom remotely. So that's another area. And the last area that I'm embarking upon post this, I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time now. I developed Smart Chat for Lync 2008, 2009. So is looking at human dynamics. You know, how individuals interface with communication tools, how people are people being productive in meetings. So there's a lot you can do with Lync now in terms of, I'm sitting in front of my desktop here, I'm joining a meeting with, let's say Rich Stern, my boss in the back here, sets up a Lync conference, and it's a team call, right? And we don't have, or we do have video involved, or let's say I'm just on audio, right? I could be doing 10 or 12 other things over here and not really paying attention to Rich, which would get me in a lot of trouble, right? So Rich asked me a question. Oh, I'm sorry, Rich, can you repeat that question? There's a lot we can do with human interfacing with the machine to really capture the attention of the user and alert Rich to let him know, Joe's not paying attention again. He's writing code over here, which happens all the time, right? So, and there's some more advanced things that we can do. We can see how people are joining meetings and who's being productive in those meetings, right? Who's sharing presentations. And I don't care what you say. Are you saying anything? You know, are you contributing to the conversation at all? We can take utterances of individuals joining sessions and actually report those and say, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry were, you know, basically productive in this meeting. Let's say you're not the talking type, right? You sat in the meeting, you don't communicate, but let's say you're the most productive person because after the meeting, you go to Outlook and you start setting up other meetings, you start communicating and actually writing documents. We're going to look at that contextual data and track who's actually productive in those sessions. Now that Lync is deployed, this is the kind of stuff that we can do to transform companies across all industries. And really, like I said before, whatever makes that individual organization unique in their industry, it's going to bring it right out and really provide some serious ROI. So that's what I'm excited about, if you can't tell. So that's the next era of all of this, is really the human intelligence reporting. Good? All right, well, come down and see us at booth 714. We've got some really cool toys, and I can help you break the machines and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, do you have a question? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do you have any insight into the coming Lync Online API, which you guys plan to give us?
Great question. Yeah. Asked for this for 4 years now. The question was, do I have any insight into Lync Online? Right now, the only customization capabilities that you can do for Lync Online are really client side, so not very much so on server side. And the reason for that is all of the server customizations require Lync on-premise. So let's say I'm one of the massive, you know, individual organizations that have signed up for a Lync Online account. How can I interact with this type of service? This actually works with Lync Online because it's client side. The web chat type of service requires UCMA, but there's some things I can say and can't say, but I will say that in the roadmap, in Microsoft's product roadmap and in our roadmap, we will have a service leveraging most likely the UC JavaScript API that will actually write to a service hosted in Azure that will support Lync Online users. So you can use live chat, contact center, those really deep integrated capabilities. So it is coming. Trust me, I was the frustrated type when I didn't see video on a web browser and fought Microsoft hard for that type of solution. It's there now, and it's in the roadmap, and I think Microsoft made it very clear at this conference that the goal is to provide this capability for everyone, you know, to join in, and that's what's coming. So hopefully answered your question. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys very much for attending. Really appreciate it. Have a great conference.